Right. Anyway, first of all, Phil Duncan is here. Those of you that don't know Phil was a university professor, taught music, and he's written a bunch of books. How many? 40?
47.
Yeah.
Wow.
And if you want to find a book on harmonica, he's the man to talk to. He really is. He's helped me immensely. But he has just finished this book, and I highly recommend it. And you can get it at the Mel Bay booth here, and it'll help you with country tuned harmonica immensely. So that's my endorsement right there. Okay. It's called Country Tuned Harmonica.
Gotcha.
And basically it covers what I'm going to talk about. Is there anybody here that does not have a country tuned harmonica with them? Okay, that's fine. Anybody not know what a country tuned harmonica is? Okay. What is that? I'm not going to go into a long story on this, but on the fifth hole on a harmonica, they have raised they've shaved the reed and they've raised the tone half a step, and we'll get into it.
So the
But
blow reed.
no,
Draw.
the draw reed.
Draw, okay.
Now what happens is in a lot of songs, if you're playing in first position, you automatically have the major seventh note here. It's called the major seventh because it's the seventh note of the major scale, but it's on the 5 draw. Or yeah, excuse me. So you got do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Now if I play that on a standard diatonic, if I play it in first position, I've got that note. The problem is if I'm playing in first position, I don't have any flats to work with or sharps. And if you look at the keyboard of a piano, you've got those black keys, which are flats or sharps, whichever way you're going. And a lot of times you need those notes because you're short 5 notes to start off with. If you play in second position, and I'm on a C harp. If you play in second position and you start on the 2 draw or the 3 blow, and you can bend, you go. So you have that note built in. This is the note. If I try that on a standard harmonica, I got a problem. Up. Doesn't sound too good, does it? So you're missing that note. Now the beauty to a country tuned harp is you can bend that note down. So you got. And you can still, I play blues on this. I live on these things, I really do. Any questions? If you have a question, put your hand up and I'll do my best to answer it.
Are you going to describe how you do that modification?
What they do is that Mark does this. They shave on the 5th hole.
Right.
The reed is they take a little bit off the end of it.
Yeah.
And don't overdo it or you're going to have to replace the whole thing. But they just shave a little bit off and that'll raise that note up.
Gotcha.
I'm not the guy to do that. So I have the guys that know what they're doing do mine for me. Yes, sir.
Well, you can. Seidel has a country tune, and Honer has a country tune.
Yes.
So you don't have to fool with that. You just buy you buy one, buy a C, figure out what's going on with it. Don't say send me 12, and then you go, well, that's not really what I want to do, which is possible. I'm just telling you, it's possible that's not where you're going, and so you have one, you figure it out, and let them have the tune already ready for you to go, and it'll say on there CT, so you won't get it messed up with your other harps. So it'll be there, and they get special 20 is what it does, right? And I'm not sure the name of the one Sidel. I know they have one.
Well, actually, they can do it in all the way.
And then,
1847.
huh?
I've got an 1847. They call it configured.
Okay, configured. So thank you. That's what they have. So my point being is that it is available. Taking it apart and trying to tune that up, as many times as I've done it, which is thousands of times, I'll screw up a harmonica quicker than anybody. And I literally throw it away or send it in and say, replace the reed. Well, hello, that's goofy. I'm just not gonna do it, you know. If I was a tech, then we have another horse of a different color. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm gonna play a track here, and this is, I'm gonna get into what the sideman does. I don't sing, and if you heard me sing, you'd understand why. So I figured out real quick that if I wanted to play with a band, they want you to sing if you're the harmonica player. But I start off playing blues. They want you to sing. You know, you're not just a harp player, you gotta sing as well. And I thought, well, gee, I'd better learn how to play melody. And I came to my first spa. I took a number of classes with John Gindick back in the day, and it was all blues. And Jimmy Lee, I don't know if you know who Jimmy is, but anyway, Jimmy was one of his instructors, and he said, well, you should go to spa. And I said, well, what is spa? And he explained to me what spa was, and I went to my first spa, and I thought I died and went to heaven, because I met guys like Phil, like Mark, etc., who are really good players. And they all helped me immensely to play melody. And Phil's the guy that really turned me out of playing country tuned harmonicas, and Charlie McCoy, because I started playing harmonica back in the day, and I played chromatic, and I'm Canadian. I lived up in Canada, and I was at where was I? I don't know. Someplace. Oh, I know. I was watching the Hee Haw show. Remember Hee Haw?
Yeah.
And this little guy comes out. This is back in 1973. I'll never forget it. This little guy comes out and plays the Orange Blossom Special on a harmonica, and I'm a trained trumpet player, the world's worst, but that's another story. And I thought, holy cow, I got to learn how to do that. So I went to the local music store. They sold me a Chromatic 64, which I still have. It's worn out. And every time I go to Toronto, I was in the real estate development business. Every time I go to Toronto, I'd go through the record stores looking for 33 and 30 LPs of Charlie McCoy. And then I was trying to play along with Charlie McCoy on a chromatic instrument, which, need I say, it didn't work too well. I did that for about 15 years, and I did it tongue blocking, because that's what the book said. I didn't have anybody teach me. And finally I broke the spring and kind of threw it in a drawer. And then my wife about 20 years ago wanted a piano. And I knew she wasn't going to practice, but so anyway, I'm going by Borders Bookstore. I don't know if you had, they've closed up now, but they used to be a pretty good operation. And they had a little kit by David Harp. I don't know what I think his name is Lipschitz or something. But anyway, he calls himself David Harp. And there was a CD and a little booklet and like a $4.50 harmonica. And I gave it to her as a stocking stuffer. And she said, what is this? And I said, it's a musical instrument. She said, I want a piano. so if you go to our house, you're going to find a piano sitting in there, which of course she's never bothered playing. And so after a couple of days, I got the nerve to say, well, do you mind if I do something? Because she wasn't interested in the harmonica. She said, I don't care what you do with it. So anyway, I started playing with this thing, and I got the bug again. I discovered Gindick on the internet, went to, I think, 5 of his jam camps. Quite a few of them were out in the island of Saba, the Caribbean, and in Austin, Texas, and all over the place. And I was determined I was not going to make that mistake a second time, because when I walked into my first class, which was out in California, I thought it was pretty good because I thought I could bend a note. It was kind of pretty sad. And I walked in this room, and we were late getting there, because I live in the Phoenix area. And everybody was playing, and I thought, oh man, I shot myself in the foot, you know, because they were all bending notes and doing blues and all this sort of stuff, and I knew I was in trouble. But anyway, I stuck it out, and eventually learned how to play blues basically, and then from there I migrated as I came to Spawn. I met a bunch of fantastic people who are great harmonica players, and that's how I ended up playing melody. And as I say, I'm not a vocalist, so I figured I had to do that or I wasn't going to get anything to do. Anyway, I'm going to play a little track here, and there we are. Somehow I lost my CD player, so I had to borrow one. Fortunately, Fred lent it to me, and this is a band I play with about 5 different bands in the Phoenix area, and Kate and the Dream Band. We're a 4-piece band. And this will just give you an illustration of how you fade in and fade out when you're playing. And the first thing you want to remember, the most important person in the band is the vocalist. And the least important person on the band is the harmonica player. And as long as you keep that in the back of your mind, you're going to be okay. If you think the harmonica player is the most important in the band, I got bad news for you. You're not going to be playing that band for very long.
Unless it's your band.
Unless it's your band, that's exactly right. So the ultimate compliment you will get as a harmonica player is, would you please play more? If you don't hear that, you're playing too much as far as I'm concerned, or you're not playing enough, excuse me. So, yeah, you kind of want to work on that and take it easy. So anyway, I'm just going to give you a sample of fading in and fading out, and you want to start off kind of keeping your volume down when you fade into a solo or your backing, and then you want to fade out when you kind of get out or pass it off to somebody else if you happen to be doing a solo. Probably 80% of what you do when you're a side person is going to be between the 1 and the 4 hole. The 1 and the 4. That's where you're going to hang out most of the time. Now, if they give you a solo, that's a different story. Then you're just going to start playing melody, and that's where you're going to need this major 7th note that I'm talking about. So that's kind of where we're going to go with this thing. So, yeah, let's go.
You're saying major 7.
It's called the major because it's the 7th note of the major
I understand,
scale.
but I'm just saying to myself, as contrasted with the usual bluesy flatted 7.
That's correct.
Call a minor 7th. Minor 7th.
I hear that. That seems contradictory, but nonetheless.
Okay.
I'll
Anyway,
take it under
give
advisement.
this a shot.
Tell you later. Tell you later.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I'll explain it to you later.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
Anytime you're feeling lonely, anytime you're feeling blue, anytime you feel downhearted, that will prove your love for me is true. Anytime you're thinking about me, that's the time I'll be thinking of you. So anytime you say you want me back again, that's the time I'll come on home to you.
I'm gonna take a solo here. I was gonna get it.
No, I'm saying.
Oh yeah. And the guitar player takes over, so you pass it off to the guitar player.
Anytime
You're almost like a backup
you're
singer.
feeling lonely,
Think like a backup singer.
you're feeling blue, anytime you feel downhearted, that will prove
Your only
for these
vocals,
children.
that's what you're supposed to do. Not take the show.
Anytime you're thinking about me, that's the time I'll be thinking of
We're
you.
gonna move on to the
So anytime you say you want me back again, that's the time I'll come on home to you. That's the time I'll come on home to you.
We'll just move on to the next track, and then I'll start to give you teacher program. But think like a backup singer. You don't want to irritate people.
I feel so bad, gotta worry now. I'm so lonesome all the time. Since I left my baby behind, gone goodbye. Sailing down.
If you're interested in sing, I said, if you go to YouTube, look up Kate the Dream Band. There's a couple of shows of us. We did a fairly big concert. They have a photograph. I also play with a second band, predominantly a country band. It's called Lone Mountain Band, Arizona. And this year we were nominated as the band in the west part of the city, the Country Music Association. Florida's being the best band out there, and also the keyboard player, vocalist, he was nominated as the best entertainer, and then the guitar player and him were playing as the best duo. So I guess we're not that bad. So that's what I do.
Now, are they playing with a country chamberlain?
I'm playing Days Me.
That's you playing there? Okay. And that's from the country chamber?
Yeah, absolutely.
What key is that?
I live on them.
What key is that?
I can't tell you.
Never mind.
I have to look at it. I don't have perfect pitch. Todd was here, he could tell me.
One thing at a time.
Somebody will figure it out.
Probably a D, like you tell you, it's probably a D.
It's D.
This what?
You're in D, the key of D.
D, key of D.
That doesn't mean you're playing a D harmonica.
I'm playing second position,
So,
cross harmony.
so it's a G harmonica. You know, you can peel those off and stick the old one on the wall. That way people can see both of them. It's got Velcro or sticky on it.
Oh, hands in paper.
Sailing down, sailing down. Work till the sun don't shine.
That's enough of me. I want to go through this kind of step by step. I think it'll make sense as we
You
go.
got some more up there, Larry?
I'm sorry?
You got some more copies up there?
Yeah.
We had some bunch more come in.
Sent me $40
Yeah, about 5 or 6.
Thanks for playing Super.
Yeah.
But I rock it.
Yeah.
Anybody not have a copy that needs one? Okay.
Guitar and harmonica.
Thank you very much.
I'm solo. I love playing solo.
So you're playing the melody on harmonica,
Singing.
and then what?
Singing, and then
you
I
play
play
fills
the
on
guitar parts, the guitar part, for the lead guitar. and harmonica.
Anybody not have one?
You're running out.
So you just do a lot of bending and glissando in there, right?
Just playing the harmonica.
Yeah, I'll take it. You need it? You sure?
Just
Okay, so,
harmonica.
anyway,
Sure. You want it?
Playing the damn thing, as they say.
I talked about
Cute little
the most important person in the band is the vocalist. Don't ever forget that. And the harp player is probably the least important, unless you're Charlie McCoy or Todd Parrott.
Or me.
Only play when the vocalist is singing if they want you to play. Don't just jump in on them, because they won't be happy with it, I'll tell you right now. So if you're playing with somebody on a regular basis, you want to make sure that everybody knows when you're supposed to come in, when you're not supposed to come in. To start off with, think like a backup singer. And if you've all heard backup singers, so a lot of times you're just echoing what the vocalist does. Matter of fact, Charlie McCoy told us a couple of years ago when he was here that he, when he's doing studio work, he has the lyrics in front of him. He plays, and that's, if you listen to Charlie, you can almost hear the lyrics of the song through his harmonica, which made a lot of sense to me, and I never forgot that. And the same with playing with other musicians. If you're invited to play, but if somebody's solos, stay out of it. Just stay out of it. And if they want you to play, they'll say, yeah, sure, not a problem. But keep your eyes open. Any guys playing bars? Yeah. There's a reason you keep your eyes open.
If someone's playing a solo, say on guitar, don't you want to play some soft accompaniment to it?
Well, it depends. You got to kind of make the arrangement between you and maybe the guitar soloist doesn't want you to play on his. Say you're the least important person in the band. Don't ever forget that. So yeah.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. If you were going to, experience is maybe play octaves very softly, that are, that chord, and play octave very softly maybe, but only if they kind of like that's okay.
Yeah. The ultimate compliment you're going to get is, would you please play more? If somebody at the band says, hey, would you please play more? Hey, you're doing something right. They don't hear that very often if you're a harmonica player. You keep your eyes open for a couple of reasons. Number one, I used to play in bars a lot. I don't now, but I did it one time. And, fights do break out. Stuff happens in a bar. You want to know what's going on. You really do. I mean, one night this guy decides he's going to attack the drummer, and I happen to be standing between him and the drummer. And if I hadn't had my eyes open, I probably wouldn't be here. I mean, this guy was vicious. The other thing is that when you're supporting the vocalist, fade in and fade out. Just don't come in gangbusters. Just fade in and fade out. And it's this stuff is all scribbled down here. Increase the volume as you fade in. Decrease the volume as you fade out. And also, there's a lot of music in silence. There really is. And as I say, the secret is just think like a backup singer, as far as I'm concerned. Now, the majority of my playing, even on this stuff, is between the 1 and the 4 hole, between the 1 draw and the 4 draw, because there's a full octave in there. And if you start to get up higher in the register, you start to really become obvious. So you don't want to do that to yourself unless you're invited to. Now, when you take the solo, you do whatever you want once you get the solo. But if it's not your solo, just kind of lay back, and your job is to make them be better. It's as simple as that. The majority of riffs I do, and I've scribbled them out here, and we'll kind of go through them, but between the 1 and the 4, that's where most of them are. Anybody here have problems bending? Good, because you want to use a lot of bent notes when you're backing people, just to kind of walk in and walk out.
Howard Levy's a good guy to
He comes from another planet.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Is Howard here this year or not? No? Okay. You can make your country tuned harmonica. How many people have a country tune? Just put your hand up. Okay. You can make your country tuned harmonica a chromatic instrument. Phil's the guy that tuned me in on this a few years ago. If you put a valve on a 5-hole draw, and you can do a blow bend, anybody here not be able to do a blow bend? If you can do a blow bend, you're gonna pick up that note that's missing.
What is a valve?
A valve is, how do you describe it, Phil? It's just, or Mark, there.
A little piece of plastic or sometimes leather or other material that is put on top of the reed so that when the air is going the opposite direction, it can't sound. It stops it. It's like a stopper on the reed slot.
I hear that. That seems.
Yes, sir.
You're saying that with the country tune, you've got a blow bend on the 5?
No, with country, I'm talking about if you want to play chromatically,
Right.
which gives you all the notes.
But like on a standard Richter, I don't think you would blow bend the 5 to get the note.
Well, it's
Overblow.
standard, well, I mean, if you can
Well,
overblow.
Flat 6. And it's in music all the time, and if you don't have it, even if you can only flinch to it, it really kind of makes you, what are you gonna do? You know, so you think something that you can do overblow in 04, you can get that quote flat note, but flat 6. But it's just, it's written all over the place. I
Yeah,
mean,
but you
it's
can't,
crazy.
you
So you put a
don't
valve on
only
it.
do the blow bend.
Yeah, a valve's like in a chromatic.
Right.
And you just put it over the slot, cut it to the sides, glue it to the slot on top, not on the bottom, like draw, but on the top of it, so that it's not touching the reed. So when you draw, it raises that valve up, and you get your air through it, and you get your sound. When you
And you're
blow,
getting your-
it closes that, and all your air goes through that, and it gives you more power to be able to lower that
You're
note
getting that
a
flat
little bit.
6.
Just to add one more time, you know, PT Gazelle, side L.
Yeah.
You know, he has reinvented doing that. And, you know, I've kind of been with PT since he started doing that, so I've kind of gotten into what happens there. But it was a suggestion because I kept, if I'm doing standard music and there's a flat 6 in it, I'm looking for it. My ear is looking for it, and then I can't, and unless I can, you know, want to drop down and do an overblow, which I can fix the reed to make that happen, because I know how to do that, but it's kind of a pain in my brain of my musical training, is to go down, and you had to go up to go down. Go down to go up, and then it just got crazy. So the answer was, I want to just, when I want to flat it, I want to go left, not right. So by putting that valve on there, and you just a little airplane glue, you just put that in and cut it with scissors to make it fit, and then let it dry, and it'll stay there forever.
Yes, sir.
Didn't he do half valves too?
I'm not sure what you mean by have.
That's what PT does.
Okay.
Because he valves the first.
Well, he does valves all the way over.
Yeah, but he does 6.
Yeah, I know, through 6 he does on one side, and the other side he does through 10. So I guess you can call that half valve, but I call it all valve because you got all valves somewhere.
Yeah.
They're just not on that, necessarily on the draw reed, and or because, you know, all of us know in this room that when you blow upper side up above 6, to make a bend, you're not gonna bend. You can draw all day long and dance, and it's not gonna bend. But if you blow in it, you're gonna get your flat 6th up there in hole 8, guaranteed. And you'll get your flat, or major 7th up in hole 9, where blowing that and it'll come down real easy. But you try drawing up there, you're wasting your time. But if you put those notes up there on top, where the blow reed is, and you draw, and that thing, that valve closes when you draw the air, because it's gonna suck that down, then you can actually draw a bend up there, and you can get a D flat. Yeah, I'm talking about cross harp and G. You can get a D flat, you can get a B flat. Yes, sir, Mark.
Bill, so is that a one reed bend you're doing when you do that?
Yeah, just one reed bend.
Okay, all right.
Are you
Yeah.
getting the D flat on
Excuse me,
the?
there was a
You can
question in the
put
back.
up in the upper, and you get a D flat with that, and
On
that's
the-
why
on the
PT,
eight draw?
you know, and PT does not use a country tune, because he doesn't need it, because he has a valve on literally hole 6 draw, and when you do that, he gets a little, you know, he calls it not exactly a half step, it's more of an expression, but the man has reinvented it. If you work at it long enough, you could make that go wherever you want it. It takes a little bit of time and effort to do it, like anything really. You know, nobody here was born and said, hey, watch me bend this reed. No, it didn't happen. It took me 2 years. When someone did that, I'm like, oh, I did. You know, before I could even, but I was a slow learner. I mean, it took me 2 years to learn how to play Silent Night. I can understand it before someone else says, oh, that's Silent Night. 2 years later, like, really?
Did you play that on a country tuned harmonica?
Absolutely. In 4/4 time.
Yeah, right. You had a question in the back?
So, yeah, I do. So the country tuning, they, let's say, were C harmonica, the country tune, the way Honer makes them, they would take the 5-hole and make it into an F sharp.
That's correct.
The 5-hole draw it. So now what happens there is you still have, which Charlie McCoy used that kind of tuning a lot for this fast mellow live fix. But that also means you still have the F, you just have to bend
That's right, you can bend down to it, that's correct.
But, so what I've done is, one of my harps, is I've done with, I just valve the G.
Right.
So I can blow bend the G down to the F sharp.
Right.
That's a possibility, but
Yeah.
you just, you know, it becomes more of a, as opposed to an exact note. And in the key of G, if you want to look at the C harmonica, in the key of G, the major 7th is the active tone that creates tension in music.
Right.
And then the blowing in 6 allows that to relax. It's just what music's about. We make tension. That's why blues really feels good. It makes tension, and then we relax. It's a psychological, music is, you know, like life is. You get all worked up and you try to figure out how to fix a problem, and then you fix it and you feel good about it. That's what music does. Yeah, Mark?
So it seems just in general that playing draw notes gives more expression. Draw notes are easier to get more expression. I mean, that's why we play second position.
That's
To a
true.
large degree. So when you have that major 7th on a draw note, it just seems, it sounds a little more musical than maybe overblowing it, or I've never heard a valved major 7th in second position.
Yeah,
But-
it's possible, but and that's what PT does.
Yeah.
And you hear him play.
Now he's, yeah.
Yeah, you hear him play
Yeah.
that F sharp with it, which is really a G flat, and it's G almost flat, because if you did the minus and ones and all that other crap and tuning stuff, you see that it's not, you know, if you've got a tuned ear, well, if you're like most of us, it don't matter what it does.
The other thing, I mean, I like country tuned harps for some playing, is that, you know, a lot of times you're going from that major 7th to the 6th, right?
Right.
And you can kind of bend down to that 6th, and it sounds good.
Yeah,
And you
well, it
can't-
does. It gives you that scoop up or the scoop down. So it really adds a whole lot more. And we're talking about expression in music. You know, I don't care what the note you play, you're making it expressive. And when this bending, which we all went crazy when we first heard it, what did that do for you? That was expression. What do you do when you sing? You got a note there, la, and I can do that? No, I can go all over it. Well, that's what we do with harmonica. Diatonic harmonica is a vocal instrument, not an instrument. Chromatic is an instrument because it has exact tones. Now, can you bend them? Yeah. So let's get back to Larry. He's
Yeah,
got
okay,
something to say.
that's fine, it was good,
Yeah.
good discussion. A good example of that is Cold, Cold Heart. I assume everybody in this room has heard Cold, Cold Heart. And because you can slide into that note, that missing note that you don't have on the standard harp. I'll give you an example. I'm on a C here, but if I'm playing Cold, Cold Heart on this is a standard harmonic, it's not country tuned. Yes, sir.
What's the one-liner at Cold Cold Heart and not relationships?
I'm sorry?
With the one-liner on Cold Cold Heart, who played it? What kind of music?
Well, Charlie McCoy did it.
Okay.
I'll play here.
Hank Williams Sr.
Ah, I'm sorry?
Hank Williams Sr.
Oh, yeah, who wrote it? Yeah, Hank Williams Sr. You don't want to hear that note, right? You don't want to hear it. That's on a standard harmonica. If you're on a country tune, because it sounds like a vocalist. It really does. You slide into that note. And a lot of, like, Georgia in my mind, I play a lot of Georgian guys that play country tune. Normally that's one of their favorites, but you don't have that note, and even an overblow just doesn't sound right on it, in my humble opinion. So anyway, that's the story on that. So any more questions about the country tuning? I think we probably
So is
beat
that
that up pretty good.
Is that the, from the minor seventh to the major seventh, is that what you're sliding into?
Yeah. I'm sliding from the, yeah. The only time you'll have a problem, in my humble opinion, on a country tune harmonica is if you're doing a train song, and normally you have, and I'm the world's worst chugger, but, well. If you do it in a country tune, that sounds like a train. This doesn't. Sounds like a diesel, right? So if you're playing like a Johnny Cash song or something kind of thing.
One you did, which was the most recent that you just did?
This is a country tune. I just, yeah, and it sounds like a diesel. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. So anyway, I'm going to move on a little bit here. These are basic riffs that I use a lot, and I've got those written down for you. But when you're backing up somebody, you want to be using different riffs, or you can use these on blues. Here's the secret: once you have your riffs down, I use them when I play jazz. I use them when I play country. I use them all the time on everything because they work. You just change your timing a little bit. As a matter of fact, on the timing, everybody, the major scale is this. I'm in first position. Okay, now, does anybody recognize that song? Anybody? Okay. No.
Joy to the world?
Okay, same notes, same order, I changed the timing. So timing is so important when you're playing harmonica. It really is. And don't forget that. So anyway, back to here. So these are riffs I use a lot. Now when you use a riff, you can just go backwards. Right? I'm just going backwards. Another one. And you can just practice these at home. So I go through a little bit. It's a double bend. Nothing's changed. I still haven't gone past the 3 at this point. You got some more riffs there that you can use, and they all work. They all work. So that's kind of how you use your riffs, and you just practice these. Whatever the key is, the music is in, just play along with them and try these things, and you'll get good at them. Now, there's one here that...
Tear it off, tear it off, tear it off.
Let's see if you just do it.
Tear it off.
Now these are duplicate riffs, But what happens is I've gone up an octave on them. So in this case is, just try it. If you have a harp, just give it a shot. So 1 draw, 2 blow, 2 draw, then 4 draw, 5 blows, 6 blow. Just try it. It sounds completely different, but it's the same note. Okay. Let's try again, slow. Okay, you got those? Now, here's another one.
Oh, wait, hold on. Well, you weren't playing the 5 draws, it doesn't matter. You're not playing 5 draws.
So you can duplicate, here's the beauty of it, you can duplicate all these riffs by just going up an octave. And I do that quite a bit. You get tired of hearing yourself do the same thing, you just do that. You're not really cheating, but you're doing something a little different. That's on a country tune. I just bent that note down. And this is one of my favorites right here. There's a guy who nobody has ever heard of. He lives in the San Francisco area. His name is Paul Michael Meredith. Anybody ever heard of him? Fabulous harmonica player. And I'm not exaggerating, fabulous. He plays with a sax player. One of my students, I do a lot of teaching around Phoenix, said, you gotta hear this guy. Well, if anybody teaches here knows what I'm talking about. He said, oh yeah, sure. You know, they give you the CD and they go, you know, it's same thing, same old. This guy's good. I'll play a little bit of his stuff in a minute here. But if you can get a chance to look at him, he plays with a saxophone player and he's phenomenal. He really is. But this is a riff I stole from him. Okay, so it's
Sounds like Send in the Clowns.
yeah, now you can connect and go. So you can connect the riffs. It's got a real nice sound, and you can use that. I use it a lot, to tell you the truth. Now, you set yourself up for a 6 blow down. So you go. So you can just connect your riffs. You can just do that. You have to bend that 5 coming down, obviously, that 5 draw. But that's what's happening there. I kind of skipped over the chromatic thing, and I'll get there right now. Phil's the guy that tuned me in on this, but you have a full chromatic instrument if you have a country tuned harmonica with the valve on the draw on the 5 hole. So you have to practice a bit, obviously, but anybody here not able to do a blow bend?
Which
Everybody go, okay, get it, if you have a G harmonica, because it has a longer reed, it's easiest to do a blow bend on. So once you understand how to do it, so it's, my brain kind of thinks I'm going over, it's like a knuckleball. It goes across, and then just the bottom drops out of it. So if you go up to the 8th hole, or 9 hole, I guess it doesn't matter. But you'll just try, you'll get it. Just think in terms of blowing over it and dropping.
Yeah.
Another little secret, which I kind of found out by mistake, is bending. Harmonicas will bend themselves. Most people don't realize that. But if you draw, say on the 2, for example, and you tilt the harmonica to your nose, it's going to bend. Try it. I'm serious. So if you have a little problem getting that 3 triple bend, which I had years ago, if you have a problem with that, what you do is just get the first bend, the second bend without tilting the harmonica, and then bend it on the. So just bend it tilt it towards your nose and draw it down to your throat, and you should hit that third bend. That'll help you out there. Incidentally, if you have any questions you want to, and you see me in the hall, stop me, and I'll do my best to answer them for you. Or Phil will, and I know that Mark will, and Don, who's another great player. There's some guys in this room that are really good players. Yes, sir.
So how do you get it to play chromatically? Where do you get the E flat? On a C harp, how do you get to play chromatic? I can see with you got the F sharp,
Yeah.
and all the bend notes.
Yeah.
But where do you get the E flat?
Well, that snuck up on me because I had a valve put on.
Without a valve. Without a valve.
4 over.
Oh, good luck. Good luck. You're not gonna have it.
You can't do it.
You can't do it. It's not gonna happen.
Overblow.
Well, yeah, you can overblow on the floor, but the reason I did this because I'm the world's worst overblower. I'm the first to tell you that. And
I misheard that.
okay.
I thought I didn't realize.
But once in a while, it's not a note you're going to bump into very often. But if you play, I got thrown a solo when I was playing with a guy that I hadn't played with a lot, and he decided to do. I left my heart in San Francisco, which I'd never played in my life, and then he threw me the solo. And I, oh boy, here we go. And anyway, there's a note in there that you need that note. You do. And I hit it, and I was proud of myself. But that's, I think, the only time I've been stuck on that thing. But it's going to happen, I guarantee. On the chromatic playing again, so. So just practice that, and you've got a full chromatic instrument. So in theory, you can play anything because you've got all 12 notes. It's just as simple as that. Any questions up to this point?
Just a comment, you can
Yeah, go ahead.
from 2 blow to 5 blow as well. If you, with 4 overblow, or if
Yeah.
you got that flat,
Yeah,
E
yeah,
flat.
exactly.
You got a full chromatic scale.
Right. But these are riffs that say, I live on these riffs. I honestly do. And I play a lot. And that's where I spend most of my time. I seldom ever go to the 5 to the 6, to be honest, because if you get up on a higher pitch, you're gonna cut through, and your job isn't to cut through. Your job is to support the vocalist in most cases. Yes, sir.
The name of this course is Country Tuned Harmonica, and the role of the sideman woman. It sounds like these rules of protocol is good for any kind of music.
Exactly. True. Exactly. Yeah. You have to respect. You have to respect the other people in the band. And as I said before, if you want to get invited back, don't play a lot. And if they say to you, could you play a little more? Hey, you're doing it right. Most harmonica players never hear that. I'm serious, especially the guy that gets his head down, shuts his eyes, and starts, wailing. He's not interested in anybody but himself, and you never want to hear him again. And, yes, sir. Yeah, Don.
So I was here late, so I don't know if you went over this, but the other advantage to the country tune are the double notes coming down. You can't get that with the
Yeah.
So,
Those two guys are great. Mark and Don are really good harmonica players, so if you capture them in the hall and you have a question, I'm sure they can answer it for you. And you play country tune, right?
No,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah, you don't, John, do you not play country tune?
I don't have one.
You don't? You're an overblower?
Well, I do a little bit.
Yeah.
That's why he's here today.
Yeah, it's after the world's worst. But anyway, yes, sir, go ahead.
Is there a
downside or drawback at all to putting a valve on the 5?
No, not that I'm aware of. I can't think of anything. Unless you're one of these guys who washes his harmonicas, I found out the hard way, and soaks the valves off, and then you're playing that night, and they're not working very good. So,
Doesn't damp the responsiveness or anything like that?
no, it just kind of sticks there. But once they dry out, you're okay. But it's not going to happen in 5 minutes. Yes, Joe.
Is the country tuning? That's not what they were doing in Canned Heat on that where they're playing that. That's a different tuning, isn't it?
You know Dale Spalding? You know Dale? He's been a spot.
No.
Anyway, he's the lead for Canned Heat. He's the guy that plays harmonica for them now.
Yeah.
Because everybody else has died, so he and the drummer are the only two
They
guys.
sharpen the sixth straw.
I'm sorry?
The which one?
He sharpens the sixth straw.
They
Six straw.
sharpen this.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's how he gets
Yes,
it.
sir.
So you've almost convinced me here to march out and buy one of the country tuned.
Well, if you're going to buy Phil's book at the same time.
Okay, but is there any key that is more common for playing in the?
Start out, I'd say C,
Yeah.
it's the most
Even the-
easy one to remember in
Yeah.
C. And then the rest of them, you play it just like you're playing C, just pretend you don't know you're in a different key.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter.
Well, yeah.
It's the old capo move.
Yeah.
You know, you move from D,
Yeah,
C
you
to
just,
D.
you just, that's the beauty.
You just don't have to use the capo.
Once you have the patterns down on a harmonica, you just change the instruments. I mean,
Yeah.
It's not rocket science. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just double checked, there's a cheap way if you wanna try it, it's a little tricky. Kong Shang makes a little harp, it's a 6-hole harp, I think. It's called,
Here it is.
is that the little fatty or something?
Yeah.
And you can get those in country too. Of course, you're gonna have to learn that you don't have those 3 top holes to begin with. And so that's a learning curve, but then you can get them and they're $24, $25 or something.
Right.
What is it called? Again,
Baby
Kong
Kong Shang Baby Fat.
Baby fat.
They sound great.
Okay.
Twice the price.
I have them
Twice the price.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think I would
because
go
I do
with
miss those couples.
more familiar
Yes.
brand.
Yeah.
I give it to the
I don't endorse any, like, I'm not sponsored by
No,
any.
I'm asking what key.
Fat gut.
Like key of C. I recommend that. Now, the other thing you want to do is if you have a number of different country tuned harmonicas, buy Charlie McCoy's CDs, because a lot of stuff he does is, well, classic country, which is a great CD. It's all country tuned. Every song on that thing is on a country tuned instrument of some type. And it just, yes, sir. Go
An
ahead.
easy one that he did a long time ago was Shenandoah. It's a slow song, and he plays in second position.
Charlie
And I'm trying to
McCoy.
play it, and I can play in
Yeah,
first
Charlie
position.
McCoy's
And I'm like,
fantastic.
well, how's he get the, he's playing, I know he's playing in second position. It's country too.
That's that major 7th note that keeps sneaking up on
What
it.
is the tune again, please? That you're
Shenandoah. As a matter of fact, Phil, that's in your book, isn't it?
No,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Along with Silent Night.
yeah,
You can overboard.
In 4/4 time.
yeah, yeah, there you go. I mean,
And it's all
I
mapped out.
highly recommend this, I really do. It's gonna
Just-
help you a lot. Yes, sir.
I do, I play a lot of padding music, padding harmonica.
Yeah,
And I know how to tune that reed that needs to be changed.
Right.
Can you do it can you take a regular diatonic and change it to make it country?
talk
Yes.
to Mark right
Yeah,
there.
it's
He's the
just-
guy that
you
does
know,
it.
For most of us, to do that, we'd probably destroy about 500 harmonicas before we fix it.
It's not that hard.
No, it
You just-
isn't, but I'm just saying.
I would say that if you're trying to sharp that reed, right, sharp it, you just take a little material off the end. You want to get something underneath the reed to support it, so that you don't tweak it sideways. And then you want to be real careful. Scrape a little bit, and then listen or look at it on with your tuner.
Would you use a 400 grit emery paper?
I use a razor knife. I use
Single edge razor
paper.
blade works real
It
good.
is because you want to scrape. Just scrape a little bit.
Exaction knife.
Exacto knife is great as long as it's not a swivel one. You want to be able to control it. You don't want to knock the reed off center. You got to be real careful and just scrape a little and then play and listen. Scrape a little and play and listen. When it's in tune, stop. If you scrape too much, then the only thing you can add some material. You can add some solder on
You can
it.
take off the arm. Go to the arm and it'll just let you.
Yeah, I don't like doing that because it weakens the reed.
You're there.
It weakens the reed.
Okay, excuse me. Okay, we got too many conversations going on one time here. Mark, go ahead. Mark's gonna say something.
For 5 minutes.
People in here who are interested in
But he said,
We've got 5 minutes,
He's
yeah.
pretty good at working, you know,
come to the back.
I'm not endorsed to say this, but buy
popular topic, eh?
Richard Slade's Hot Rod Your Harmonica little book. It's not that expensive. And he also sells great tools, and they're not that expensive either. So what I was saying is if you're sitting in here and you're thinking, I'd like to country tune some of my harps, and I'm good at working with little tools, buy Richard Slade's Hot Rod Your Harmonica.
Absolutely.
Okay, and he also sells a toolkit that's not that expensive and has the tools you would need. And if you work through that, you'll become very confident at tuning reeds.
And it's got videos to go with it.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, Joe Falisco has.
I don't know if he's selling any here, he might be, but he sells them, he'll ship them to you, you can order them online.
Well, he's here at the convention.
Yeah, talk to him.
So talk to him, find him.
Yeah.
He'd probably show you, you know, he's proud of that.
Yeah.
But, and that's if you have patience, and you're okay working with tools.
Tiny things.
You can focus and concentrate.
Yeah, if you go, Joe Falisco has a program going on, I think, at the present time, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm sorry?
Teaching.
The teaching.
Excuse me, the teach-in. And you're gonna, I highly recommend you go there, because you're gonna have probably, I don't know, 30 people in there that really know what they're talking about and really are good players. And you'll have a chance to sit down and pick their brains. And also, there's probably somebody there showing you how to actually set up harmonicas, at least in the past there has been. So don't miss that class, it's a good class. The other thing is that Todd Parrott, if you haven't heard Todd, he's phenomenal. I mean, you know, there's good, there's great, and then there's Todd Parrott. And he and Buddy Green are going to be doing a seminar together, I think, at some point here. And Todd also is going to be doing a country tune seminar. So what I've done here is kind of, you know, the basic 101 in terms of doing country tune stuff. Take in Todd. If nothing else, just to hear him play. He's phenomenal. And Buddy's the same. They're both really very personable individuals.
Buddy, what is his last name?
Buddy Green. If you've ever seen the Gaither show on TV, the harmonica player, he's it. He's the guy that plays with them. Yeah, go ahead.
Has anybody emailed you the YouTube video of the guy playing at Carnegie Hall?
Oh, yeah.
That's Buddy Green.
Yeah, he's had like 5 million hits or something on YouTube. So I think we're kind of out of time here. Sorry, go ahead, John. Oh, did you want to say something?
No, he's got another minute.
Thank you very much for putting up with me. You've got some real good people in here that you know, you grabbed them in the hall. Lonnie's here as well. Grab them in the hall if you have any questions, and thank you. Be glad to have you.
I just want to say one thing. If anybody doesn't know about Will Wild,
Oh,
he has a tuning.
Yeah.
When you talk about bending 7, 8, 9, and 10, the way he tunes it, you can bend those holes. But it's not for country. It's more for like bluesy type stuff. And he's here. If you get a chance, you've got to go watch this guy.